welcome to Avneer Presents The Outside View, powered by WTF Sports. Today, I have, as usual, my companion Ananya Upendran with me, and we look towards the 5-match T20I series between England and West Indies. So, Ananya, how eager are you on a scale of 1 to 5 towards this series?
Super eager. I mean, we watched a bit of the Rachel Heyhoe-Flynn Trophy. We watched the Germany-Austria series, but this is the first time we're seeing two major teams compete. So very, very excited.
Okay, let's move to the big picture. Austria and Germany did play a T20I series, but this is the first time two major cricketing nations are getting back to action after the pandemic. So, Ananya, what's your general expectation from the series?
I think I'm like everyone else, I'm just very excited that we're going to see two major nations competing, considering all the, the uncertainty that was around this. India cancelled and South Africa cancelled, and England, I think a lot of the players were wondering whether they were going to get an international series. And just the fact that, again, West Indies have come to England's rescue. I think just the excitement around seeing two major nations compete again that's one of the things I'm really excited about. And again, to see how these teams cope coming out of, not playing any cricket for the last 6 months it's going to be interesting. I think more than the batters, the bowlers are going to take a little time to get into their stride, but I'm sure we're going to see some competitive cricket through the series.
I mean, West Indies yet again answered an SOS call to them because the men's cricket resumed with them playing a major part, and here they are having a say in women's cricket coming back to England. So a bit more about them, their generosity.
Yeah, I mean, they've been huge. I think all the England players have spoken about how they're kind of indebted to the West Indies for coming over at such short notice. I mean, none of them had been practicing. There were restrictions of travel between the islands. So, I mean, the fact that they've come with absolutely no cricket since the T20 World Cup, they're coming a couple of weeks in advance to kind of bail England out, I suppose, is a huge thing.
Of course, it's a 5-match T20I series that starts on Monday, September 21. Let's now look at the England squad. The first thing that struck me after looking at the 15 that they have named is no Georgia Elvis yet again, and she is disappointed as well. So, one, does that affect the balance of the side, and what's the additional roles the others have to play around her?
I mean, I think it's really disappointing that Georgia Elvis again has been struck down by another back injury, something that's plagued her through her career. As far as, whether it affects the balance of the side, I'm not entirely sure, because she's never been a certain fixture in the England 11. So, I mean, I think she's more disappointed than anything, considering I saw a couple of inter-squad games. She was bowling brilliantly. She was in amongst the runs as well. I think how that affects the balance of the squad, I'm not entirely sure, considering they do have Natalie Siver. They've called in Sophia Dunkley. They have a few all-rounders to kind of fill that spot. Catherine Brunt has scored some runs as well. So I don't think it affects the balance of the squad, but it's really, really disappointing for her.
Also, Katie George is a name that that adds variety, if you say, in the seam attack, a left-arm seamer, and she's clearly ahead of Tash Farrant in the pecking order. But do you see her getting any game with Cross, Shrubsole, etc. present?
Considering that both Catherine Brunt and Anya Shrubsole are kind of towards the end of their career. I mean, Shrubsole probably has a few more years, but I think England are looking to blood a few young pacers, and Katie George is definitely one of them. So she may get a couple of games. I mean, she may not play the first few, but I think they might kind of want to give her a game or two.
Another thing that strikes you after sort of looking at the squad is the depth in spin. They already had 3, and add Sophia Dunkley to the mix. Does it point towards the tracks or the conditions that might be there?
I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I think Sophia Dunkley, first and foremost, is a batting all-rounder. So the bowling will be a second string that she adds. And with Sarah Glenn, who's bowling extremely well, who is England's number 1 frontline leg spinner at least. And I think she's the number 2 spinner right now. So Sophia Dunkley does have that bow to her string, but whether she'll actually add depth to the spin attack, I'm not entirely sure. But it's great to see her back. She's been batting extremely well. So it's wonderful that she's earned a recall, I suppose.
So these were a couple of talking points, but the batters sort of might run after us if we don't discuss their aspect as well. Interesting choice, especially when you look at the intra-squad matches, because yes, Beaumont and Wyatt did open for a team, but there were Lauren Winfield and Bryony Smith. So Bryony Smith, of course, is in standby. Do you think that Winfield might get game time, or is it just purely her role is as a backup opener?
Maybe not. I mean, she did play the T20 World Cup as a lower middle order batter, so that's something that she could potentially still do. I think the interesting thing will be where Amy Jones bats. She opened in the T20 World Cup, didn't do that well, but Tammy Beaumont has been in really good form in amongst the runs in the intra-squad games. So I think whether Beaumont comes down the order, whether Jones comes down the order, that's a big question for the England management to answer.
Those were bits about England, but the tourists, the travellers, the saviors, if I may call them, the West Indies squad has an interesting look to them. First thing that strikes you is more of doubt, isn't it, as to how a team without Anisa Mohammed will do.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. But I mean, we do have to remember that until late last year, Anisa Mohammed had been dropped from the side. She only made a comeback thanks to injuries against India late last year. So how they'll do again is a question. Like you said, it's definitely a question. But I think there is a lot of uncertainty around West Indies. Which West Indies will turn up? Will their big three do well for them? And Anisa Mohammed will, without her, they don't have a lot of experience, especially in the spin contingent. Yeah, she's a big loss, but again, West Indies is kind of like, you never know which West Indies is turning up.
I'll give you a captain's hat and ask you, will you throw the young Kesia Schultz into the mix straight away?
I don't know. So there have been a lot of people who said she's a left-arm spinner, that she's bowling. She's been bowling really well. She did well in the regional competition as well. So I think they have two really experienced off spinners, and they have Affie Fletcher to back up Matthews and Taylor. So whether they'll want an extra spinner again will depend on what conditions they come up against in Derby. But again, I think it's like England. They will want to give her game time, but it's like Corey Collymore said, they will want to, they're building a squad for the future. So if that's what they're looking to do, then I think they may throw her in the mix.
Fair point. And Collimore's statement stands true, especially given the T20 World Cup disappointment. Let's move towards the predictions. You mentioned about West Indies' reliance on their superstars, big three, Deandra Doughton, Hayley Matthews, and of course Stephanie Taylor. So again, given the reliance of the entire team on these three, what's your prediction? 5-0, 4-1, it's all yours. Prediction time.
I'm going to be a little conservative and say 4-1 England. I'm giving West Indies one game because I feel like the three of them should be able to pull off at least one victory for West Indies. But yeah, 4-1 England, considering that the players have a bit more cricket under their belt.
Considering the amount of hair I have, I like headgear. So even I'm going to have this predictor's hat, and I think it's going to be 5-0. Sorry, West Indies. Thank you for coming again, but it's going to be 5-0 England. So for all you fantasy app lovers and fantasy game lovers, you can combine your England and West Indies players and play the game on WTF app, the details of which you can watch this space for more. So that's it from us this time from Avnir Presents The Outside View, powered by WTF Sports. Hope you enjoy it.